This will come in handy.
Hello and welcome everyone, it's Shapti here again, today with another build, and this time I'm on the Ranger, on the Deadeye, and this here is a Quill Volley Sniper build. So we basically use Volley, which gets stronger when you use frenzy charges. So if you consume one frenzy charge, you deal 100% more multiplicative damage, and for each additional frenzy charge you get another 20%, and our frenzy charges are capped at 7, so that's 140 additional multiplier that we can theoretically get when we are at 7 charges. I also have lightning infusion here for more damage, perpetual charge, so we have a chance not to waste our charges when we use this ability, and I have heft for more maximum fist damage. Snipe is also an interesting ability here. It deals 300 base damage, and it's basically a charged ability, and if you overcharge it, it deals shitty damage. If you shoot it too soon, it deals shitty damage, but if you hit the sweet spot, like this, then the ability always crits, and in this case, thanks to GCPs for 250% bonus damage. And yeah, it also deals an AoE. So we use concentrated effect to deal more damage. The AoE effect is neglectable because we don't use it as an AoE clear. For that we have our Spiral Volley. And we also use Window of Opportunity, so it's harder to hit the sweet spot, but we get a massive multiplier of 50%. And we also use Super Critical, so we have less crit chance, but 100% increased critical damage bonus. And since this ability always crits, we can neglect the disadvantage here. We also use Barrage. So what Barrage does is basically it empowers our next bow attack, so it repeats 2 additional times, so we get 3 shots out of that. And it also consumes additional frenzy charges to give us another repeated attack. So with 7 charges, that means we get 7 additional repeats, plus 2, that's 9, plus the main attack is 10 hits. And if you do that with Snipe, we get 10 snipes in on an enemy. So repeated attacks deal 2% less damage. That one gets reduced as this ability levels up, and if you add quality via GCPs. We use Premeditation for more multiplier. We use Second Wind, so we can use it twice in a row, just in case we screw up, and that can happen easily with Snipe if you're not careful enough. But we increase the cooldown, and with Ingenuity we reduce the cooldown a little bit. Then we use Sniper's Mark. So we mark an enemy, and our next critical hit will deal more damage, and we get a frenzy charge. That's pretty good to deal additional damage and to gain a frenzy charge. And we use more skill effect duration and less cost here. Then we run Rain of Arrows. It also scales with frenzy charges, so you shoot more arrows at one spot, the more frenzy charges you have. And we get some extra damage here and chance to blind, so we can use this defensively to blind our enemies so they have less hit chance against us and more crit chance against immobilized enemies. We also use Wind Dancer to increase our evasion, and I have more area of effect, chance to pin, and accumulating crit chance on this one, so when we get hit we proc this explosion that deals damage. And it knocks enemies back and deals a bit more damage and has a chance to pin them. Very important ability in this build is Combat Frenzy. So when we freeze, electrocute or pin an enemy, we gain a frenzy charge, and this can happen every 1.88 seconds, and this number is going down the more levels you have in that skill. So we will get more charges, or we get charges quicker the higher the level is, and I use Profusion, so we have a chance to gain an additional charge, and I'm running Precision here to have more accuracy on the build. And as a last ability that reserves Spirit, I use Attrition. It basically gives us Culling Strike after 33 seconds against bosses and rears, which is not that much needed, but we gain 1% more hit damage to rare and boss enemies for every 2 seconds we are in their presence, up to 54% multiplier. So yeah, we basically get an accumulating damage multiplier here. If a boss fight takes a little bit longer, that can happen if you screw up your snipes. So having this ability is pretty useful versus bosses. So let's have a look at the items that I have here. I'm running this bow. I got this one at the end of Act 3 from a merchant as a blue weapon, and I crafted it, and it became this baby here. Massive damage, also mana leech, pretty good for that level, and it's not even an expert item, it's just advanced, and it's still pretty good to do maps with that. I have gloves with like a little bit of extra damage, life and chaos resistance, because it's so hard to come by chaos resistance. Having that is pretty important. Also some life leech makes mapping way easier. On the belt I have life, mana, some resists, and the boots here are actually vital for this build. So at least they give us movement speed and evasion, but they don't give any resists or life. So that's a bit of a bummer. We have to work around that by having more life and resists on our other equipment pieces. But it gives us a little bit of extra dexterity, which is nice to have. And again, some evasion and movement speed is always good, especially the movement speed. But physical damage is pinning is the important part. So all of our physical damage now can basically pin enemies. And as we pin enemies, if you look at combat frenzy, when we pin enemies, we get frenzy charges. So by just simply attacking enemies, we gain frenzy charges, and we can then spend these charges on spiral volley to deal more damage. And by the way, I forgot to mention that when you consume frenzy charges, your attacks also chain. You basically have massive AoE clear with that. And we use it for barrage, for the snipe, and so on and so on. These boots are basically vital for this build. Then on the rings I have, I'm trying to get resists and life as good as I can. They are not that great, but they suffice. On the chest piece, same thing, life and resists, and also at least 30 spirit, so I can pay the spirit costs for our 3 spirit abilities. Amulet, the same thing, just resists and trying to get decent stats. On the quiver, I'm trying to get as much damage out of this as possible. And on the helmet it's the same, just life and resists. So these items are not the greatest, but they are decent. And of course the boots are the heart piece of this build. As a charm I use anti-freeze, and I have a pretty strong healing potion. And a mana potion, and I need a mana potion to offset the reduction of mana when I use this one. So if you look at the skill tree, I have 2 ascendancy points currently. I'm gonna unlock the rest later. So we have a 30% chance to gain max frenzy charges whenever we gain 1 frenzy charge, and we can gain frenzy charges with our sniper's mark or with combat frenzy, and here we have 50% chance to gain another charge. So this triggers actually quite often. And here we get a 50% chance that our bonuses from consuming frenzy charges, such as this or like spiral volley or barrage or these things, that these are basically doubled in efficiency. So that's really powerful. Then we start by picking damage nodes here, picking the potion node here, more damage here. This is accuracy, that's pretty good. More movement speed and evasion, a little bit more evasion here. More projectile damage. Then we go down this way to the mercenary, and we get more projectile stuff here for more damage. Also the effect that projectiles can chain off walls, so that's pretty cool. Also some armor and evasion, because we are running armor evasion gear on this character to get not only evasion but a little bit of damage mitigation from armor. And here we have this node that's pretty strong because it reduces critical damage, and we get some life regen and additional flask life recovery right here. That's also very strong. Down here we have back in action, that it gives us stun recovery, which can help us a lot, and I get this one from the anointment from the amulet. And here we pick the frenzy node for 1 more frenzy charges and evasion bonus when we consume a frenzy charge. Up here we get chance to pin, and a bonus pin build up, I should say, which is vital for this build. We also pick this node. Extra strength means more health, and we gain flash charges back. And right around the corner here there's this other frenzy node, so we have another 5% chance to gain max frenzy charges and +1 to maximum frenzy charges here. Here we increase the bonuses from our quiver by 80%, and these nodes here give us more pin buildup and maiming. And here we have a little bit more movement speed and evasion rating. And we go down all the way here. We get more movement speed and attack damage here, and maim on hit, so enemies are slowed. And here we get a bit more accuracy, and projectile speed will apply to bows. I no longer have that one on my quiver. I used to have it on my other quiver, so if you can get it on your quiver, get it to get more damage out of this here. And here we get more frenzy duration and +2 maximum frenzy charges. Then we move up here. I have a kind of shitty jewel in this one. And here we get more projectile damage and more chaining from terrain. So that's a 30% chance in total. Here we get more dex and attack speed scaling with our dex, more dex here, and more evasion rating from our body armor. That's another 420 that we get from this one. And that's basically the character so far. So, that being said, if you don't want to play lightning arrow or ball lightning procs or poison arrow builds, then this might be the build for you. It's pretty fun to play. The sniping can be a little bit challenging at some times, but it's also very rewarding. So I'll put some gameplay here at the end so you can see how this build looks like in maps. And yep, if you like this character or this build, feel free to leave a like or a sub or a comment in the comment section, and well, have a nice day. Bye bye.
Nope.
This will come in handy.